I'll be doing for you today is, well, it's a bit of a mullet haircut. We did a bob line in the back and then we'll go all the way shorter to the front. I'll ask Mario after to go more towards the drawing so you guys can see what I did. Because in interest of time, so we don't bore you for too long, I did part of the haircut before. So, let's start. The first thing that I did was the bob line in the back. So the bob line is slightly triangular. Everything was done through the comb with minimal tension. So the section for the bob line was just above the ear. I'm going to say 1 centimeter. It's like something like, well, let's say the thickness of my thumb. On top of the ear with the T section, and then slightly rounded all the way to the other side. So this section was quite symmetrical. The thing is, when I started, I looked at my mannequin and I saw that she has like a natural flow from more towards one side. So I chose to follow that. And this is not because I wanted to get a symmetrical haircut, it's more because of that emotion that I put inside the haircut. So it's not only technique, it's the emotion as well. So with that triangular line, actually rounded line, with rounded section, I started off with my bob line. Everything through the comb, 90 degrees down, trying not to put too much tension on the hair, and then just following everything with my scissors. What I'm trying to do is not try to use the whole comb, but only to use a part of the comb, and then the scissors from the middle of the blade to the top of the blade. This is because for me it's easier to control the cleanness of the line when I don't use too much of the comb or the scissors. So again, I sat down, and what I have to be aware of while I'm doing my bob line is these walls that we usually talk about in Scott Academy, which would be in this case the T section, which is going from the top of the hair until the top of the ear. And then if I imagine that her shoulders are here, I'm not going over that border or over that wall. So what I want to do, I want to stay in the back. I can move towards one side or the other, but I always have to be in the back. Because if I move to the front, my hands will follow, and then I'll probably ending up rounding up the line. So everything 90 degrees, following the shape of my comb, and the comb is following the shape of the section. So as I said, it's slightly triangular section, so I'm keeping the corners behind the ear to get this kind of slightly, let's say, 80s look for going towards the outside. After that, I went to my top section, which I did all in the same section. So I started off with vertical sections in the middle, and then just a small angle of graduation. This is not a strong angle of graduation. It's not 90, but it's not really 45, because I wanted to get this soft kind of shape on the top. Also, what I have to think about at this point, I have two disconnected sections. And I have one that is very long and the other one that is quite short. So what I want to do when I comb out and when I start cutting, I don't want to get inside with my combing to my section with the longer hair. If I take some of the longer pieces from the section underneath, my graduation won't have that curved line or curved emotion. It will go slightly more wavy because I will take some things inside my graduation that should not be there. So I had to work very slowly and very gently so I don't touch my bob line underneath. I started off as vertical and then started pivoting until I again came to the part of the head that started to go towards the front, and then with diagonal sections I moved all the way to the front. As you can see, the graduation is rounding out all the way towards the front. So what's important for me at the point when I'm doing this graduation is to always follow what I want to do. So if I take my section first, here, my body has to stay directly in front of what I'm doing. And how I move is how my body moves. So I always follow the technique that I want to do or the angle that I want to do. If I keep standing on the same position, but trying to move my arm, I am going to eventually start over-directing because it's going to be very hard for my body to follow that section or that technique. So what's the most important thing for me at the point where I started to do my graduation is to see where my elevation was. And my elevation was straight out, not from the head, but from my section. So it's 90 degrees out and then the angle underneath. And this is the elevation that I followed all the way through, not moving it up or down. The thing is, with graduation, if I change that elevation, it will change my graduation. Why? Because I'm working on the roundest part of the head. And everything that goes just slightly over is going to go towards layers. Everything that goes more down is going to be more heavier. So this is why I have to be always in control of what I'm doing and thinking about those sections, the positioning of my body, and then the elevation that I want to follow through. So I'm starting off on my right side, and I'm going to clip this bob shape in the back so it doesn't get in the way of my cut. Trying to be very gentle because the hair was already ironed. And just taking my section towards the back, so I take the same point towards the front. So I can start and just follow my guideline from the back towards the front, or I can give myself a guideline on top, and this will make it much more easier for me to follow the shape through. So I'm just taking the top part of the section. What I need to be aware of is I shouldn't take too thick of a section, because if I take too thick of a section, I'm going to create a line on my graduation, and this is something that I don't want. So I want to stay directly in front of what I'm doing. I want to get a square line on top. So not going there, so my hands don't follow, not going towards the back. I have to be directly in front. And I'm taking the length from the back as my guiding point for the front or for the side. Straight out. Immediately when I'm taking it straight out, I can imagine the angle underneath. And then following that section all the way to the front. Comb it down, and now I can start just putting a little bit of water so it's easier for you. And now I know my elevation. I know it was straight out from the head. And I'm taking that angle and positioning myself so I can see what I'm doing. So my body always is turned towards the side I want to cut. So I'm not here, but I'm going there. So everything straight out. And now I'm changing the angle that I used in the back, and I'm doing 90 degrees straight out from the head shape. And now I know that if I measure the head shape here, I can see it's flat. So what I need to do if I want to follow that flatness, again, move with my sections, being very aware of my elevation and the point of my over direction. Small section so I can see my guideline. So for me, especially when I'm doing creative hair cutting, such as this, for me, before I even start, I always try to ask myself 2 questions that can they help me to get to the result that I want to do. So before I start cutting, I always ask myself, where do I want to end? And if I can answer that question, where do I want to end, that means that somewhere in my head I already have the image of the shape that I want to do in the end. So if I have that answer, and if I know where I want to finish, then it will be much easier for me to kind of follow that technique also inside my head. Because it's not only with following the technique with my fingers or with my comb, it's also how we follow it in our head. It's very hard to follow the shape that you want to do if you don't have the clear image in your head. So again, 1 step, everything up, My elbow is high in the air. And I'm following that 90 degrees so I connect to my guiding point on top. I'm not worrying that much about my outline on the ear. I want to keep it soft, but I know I still want to work on it when the hair is dry. Trying to comb everything nicely from the roots to the ends. And down. And going back to the other side just to see if everything is connected. But not changing the angle that I did. Everything down. So guys, if you feel like you have some questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Mario will tell me all the questions that we are getting on our live.
Chris and Adam are saying hi.
Hi Chris, hi Adam. So we just finished our day in the salon. We were booked with clients. We just finished. It's very hot in Croatia right now. It doesn't probably, for the people in the States, doesn't mean much, but in Croatia we have almost 40 Celsius. I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit, but it's very hot. So I'm moving on to the other side. So again, taking my point from the back and going square towards the front. Always thinking about that I'm standing in front of what I'm doing. So my body always needs to follow. And this is something we like to forget. Me as well. Working in the salon 8 hours, we are very busy, always on the road, and you forget to move. But actually to move is something that will get you towards the result much faster and much easier. So again, everything straight out from the section. Down, and I can see where my angle of my fingers have to be. So I'm just clipping away again my bob line in the back, so it doesn't get in the way. And starting my first section. So for all the people that just tuned in, we are doing a bob haircut in the back, slightly mulleted. One leg bob from the occipital bone down with rounded section and then rounded short graduation on the top. Mario can show you the sections on the drawing.
So here you can see from 4 angles, front, back, left and right profile. With a red marker, even draw a basic sectioning. And with a black marker you can see the angles, the silhouette of this haircut.
So we decided to use the mannequin. In Croatia we still need to wear masks while we are working closely with other people. So we felt that it's much more easier for you to understand me if I'm not wearing the mask. So mannequin is definitely a solution for that. So straight out from my guiding point on the top. Always be careful to connect to that guiding point, but not to cut it off. That's what the name says, guiding point. What I need to think about and what that point is telling to me, don't cut me off. If you cut me off, you're going to do something different. So just cut from me, but don't cut into me. So vertical sections all the way. Don't, again, I have to remind myself, I need to move. Again, pushing my body towards the side that I want to cut. Straight out from the section, being aware of my elevation and of my over direction. Everything down very gently. So I want to look at how my shape is developing all the time. which I can only do if the hair is combed nicely. If the hair is not combed nicely, I cannot check with my eyes how my shape is turning out. Again, from my guiding point, all the way down 90 degrees. And then the last section, slow, small over direction, just because I want to keep that angle in the front of that, let's say, square graduation. And down. And I can see that the hair is falling very softly with the head shape, and this is something that I want to keep. Obviously I need to still work on my outline, on around my ears, but I want to keep it for now, and I'll do it because I want it soft. I'll do it when the hair is dry. So just to see how it's all connecting with my profile area, so it's just slightly rounding out towards the front. And then on the other side, the same. So what I want to do now, I want to go towards the front, on top. So what I know that I have the top of the head, and then a head that is slightly going towards the front. And this is what I want to follow. I'm going to cut the fringe very short. So I already want to take some of the weight of the fringe, so I don't end up with too much heaviness on the fringe. So everything to the front. But I still want it connected all the way with my profile area. What I need to be very careful now is to not cut into that graduation in the back. If I cut into that graduation, what will happen? I will round out this small angle that I want to keep. So if I take my point from the back, top of the graduation, as my guiding point, this is the point that I don't want to cut into. I want to cut from that point. And I know sometimes it looks funny because you say you cut only just a small part, but even small parts of hair make a difference on kind of the shape that you want to keep. So everything towards the front. And as I said, I want to keep the part or the top of my graduation in the back. And I take my section. And now I know I want to follow the head shape. So what does that mean? I have a couple of steps that I need to do. If I take a look at my head shape, which goes there, and I want to follow it, then I know I need to be here, 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 and then here. So if you can see in my body, it goes from there all the way there. So it's the same as following it through with the steps around, but now I'm just following it with the height of my position of my body. So up, small parts so it doesn't get in the way. And as I said, I don't want to cut into that point, which is the point of my graduation in the back. I want to cut from that, straight out from the head towards the front. Once I did that, take away the point so I protect it. One more step towards the front. My body position changes. And I'm going more towards the front. Again, 90 degrees, following the head shape, taking away that point. New part of the section, everything that I don't need, I comb it away from me. And again, straight out. My body goes lower.
Lama Deep is asking, do you have a salon in the USA?
We don't have a salon in the USA. We do have a boss in the USA. No, I'm joking. We don't have a salon in the States. We have a salon that is based in Zagreb, Croatia, as well as the academy. But very often, well, before COVID, we went to the States and held classes in Sacramento, in California, at Federico Advanced Academy. And hopefully, if everything goes well, this year after summer, we will be there again, which is going to be a first week in October. We're going to do only 5 days of class. Usually we do more because it's a long trip to go, but because of COVID and everything, we're going to do one course of 5 days, and then hopefully we will be back next year. Again, from that point, I'm already going towards the front. So what does that allow me? If I take that section in between, I can see my angle from my graduation, which is going to keep my graduation on the point where I want it, but still take off the length. And when the hair moves, it's going to be all connected and then much softer on the top, not in the back. Again, section up, thinking about positioning of my body. Taking small sections inside my main section, so I can more easily follow through what I want to do.
Adam is saying, yes, you will be back. And we will do a study abroad trip.
Hopefully, Adam, hopefully. We'll see. So what this COVID, well, one thing that I've learned, especially about education during COVID, is you expect the best, but you're preparing for the worst. We had classes, thankfully, for our creation students, but it was a lot of improvisation with dates and with organizing. We really miss all the friends from the States. We didn't see them for now 2 years almost, or 2 years. And we miss them, we miss Adam and the family and the kids, so really hope to be there in October. We are very lucky because the academy's schedule is completely full after September, so hopefully it will stay that way. Again, from that point.
Fabiana Cano is asking, good class. Can you give her more volume?
You can always put more volume, especially if you do something like this with graduation. You can put volume as much as it needed, and then it depends on how much you blow dry it. This was all flat iron, so it's quite straight and slick. But if you take any brush and just push some volume, it will create volume. So it's not about, we usually always flat iron our clients. It's because we do geometrical hair cutting and we want everything to be perfect. And if everything is perfect with the cut, they can do at home whatever they want. They can blow dry it more, put more volume in. They can blow dry this more towards the out, or they can maybe make it curly. It's possible. But only if the cut is stable, it can take all the blow drying or all the styling that the client wants. So the only point where I wouldn't actually flat iron a client is usually when I'm doing something on the client that's my regular client, and I always do the same. So this is where I don't really have to kind of blow dry if I already know the hair. So one more section all the way to the top of the temporal bone. So the hair is getting dry very fast, so I need to put water all the time, keeping my hair equally wet. It's very important to me until I come to the point where I want to kind of let it dry out while I'm still cutting, so I can see where my shape is moving.
Mark Less is asking, are you taking the parts you take horizontally to the middle of the head so you can gain length?
No, everything goes straight out. I don't know if you can see it, if Mario wants to show it. So if I would go towards the middle of the hair, then everything would be over directed to that point, so that would mean this. So I would have a triangle where my new hair is falling on top of my guiding line. But what I'm doing is taking those sections and then trying to lift them up straight out from the head. What does that mean? That means that my fingers are directly in the middle of that section, so it's creating the same triangular all the way from the roots to my fingers. And then pushing it all the way to the front. So I should not forget on which part of the head that I'm dealing with, because this is the point where I'm dealing with, this. So my fingers need to be there. I am going to try and do the fringe very strong and very short, but I do want to keep those lengths around the ear softer, because we have this strong shape in the back and then strong fringe in the front. So now I came to the point. I have only one section that is right on top of my temporal bone. So what I'll do, just to make it easier for me, I'll take every section and just lift it first to the top of my graduation in the front, on the side, just to connect it on top. So I'm not moving or elevating my hand, I'm just pushing everything down to that point. Everything down to that point. So what I'm actually creating is a small angle between the top and the sides. So the only thing I need to do, and you can see that angle falling right on top of my graduation. If I take it here, you can see it right on the point where I stopped working, which is just on the temporal bone. So the only thing that I need to do, I need to take that angle off to create softer and rounded shape. But also what I need to think about is I went towards the shorter, to the front. So if I start from the front to remove that angle, I'm going to have to push it towards the front, and it's going to be much harder for my body to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take everything from the front. To make it easier for me, I'll just flip this away so it doesn't get in the way of my haircut. And the only thing, going towards the temporal bone, and this angle just rounding it out. Again, thinking my body position. I need to go with the flow of my haircut, which is very important. If I don't follow that flow, I'll probably end up keeping something that I shouldn't keep. So moving everything away, and then again, half of the section that I already did, up, knowing where my position was, knowing where that angle was, and then only rounding out the angle. Step 1, my body goes lower, step 2, and my body goes lower, step 3. All the way until I reach the T section, and this is where I stop, because I don't want to go into my back. So I'm doing it from the front, I'm shorter. You can always do it from the back. because I'm shorter. Well, this is a mannequin, I can put her down, but when it's client, I usually have to go on my fingers to do that. So to make it easier for me, I'll take everything from the front. And just round it with angle out.
So Erin Bro is asking, does this haircut have a name?
No, it doesn't. I don't know, Mario, do you think it has a name?
I don't know.
It doesn't have a name. I never give my haircuts a name. I find it, well, when I was starting, and you know, the beginning, and all the sessions and all the haircuts had names. And I found it very inspirational at that point. And I always knew all the names, and I was connecting all the techniques to the shapes and the names that were given to those shapes. But for me, I just work with something that I want to do, and it's just the technique that I want to show. It doesn't have a specific name to the haircut. I hope I answered that question. What do you think, Mario? Do you give names to your haircuts?
I don't know. I will agree with you, kind of, because we have so many clients almost every day, and our clients have names, so probably that should be the name of their haircut. Every haircut.
Well, yeah, actually, now when you say it like this, yeah. So me and Mario, when we are not doing education, and this is all something that we like to say always, because we experience this thing where we go and people tell us, when we go and do education, oh, you can never do those cuts. We'll never find the models for you. And we always kind of end up with the models that we actually want and with the shapes that we want. Why it's very important for us and for our students to know that 99% of the photos on our page, Zgat Academy, Instagram or Facebook, or on Mario's page, or on my page, are our clients. It's our daily work. It's not models. Because we do work 8 hours behind the chair, which actually we find very, very motivational also for education and then also for practicing everything that we do with cutting. Mario likes to always say that he connects the hairdressing with this sports mentality, and we kind of practice 8 hours a day, because what kind of hairdressers would we be if we wouldn't cut hair every day in the clinic? I hope I quoted Mario correctly.
Adam is saying, Ivana's voice mixed with the birds chirping in the background is very zen.
We are giving you a taste of summer in Croatia. Birds, sun, seaside. We are very lucky to live in such a beautiful country, I think. I started appreciating it more with years as I'm getting older.
Boban Ristic is saying hi from Belgrade.
Hi, Boban. And again, pushing everything that I don't need away so it doesn't get inside my technique. And I'm already at the point where I'm leaving this last section on top of the temporal bone, and everything again goes up.
Denis Dituri says, Old School Sassoon loves your technique.
Oh, thank you, Dennis. Now you're making me blush and shake more than I'm already shaking. Thank you. And I do, probably you guys know this, I shake all the time. Even when I'm not doing things like this, I shake. I always say it's because of too much caffeine and too much cigarettes. It's the Croatian way, always drinking coffee and having cigarettes.
Veli Kodas is saying hi and asking, do you work with over direction probably at the moment?
At the moment I'm trying to push everything straight up, but now I'm going to start with over direction. As on the previous side, I'm taking top of my section from the underneath and then everything over directed to that point. I have to know where I stood when I was cutting it, and then everything straight out, over directed on top of my guideline. On top of my guideline. And again, next section all the way until I ran out of hair. Remembering when the position of my guideline was, and then everything on the top. To that square line.
So your hair is slightly drier.
Yes.
Does it help you, or
It
what is
does.
the reason behind that?
So as I was saying before, I was wetting the hair all the time. Well, now I'm trying to leave it to dry, and it helps me to see if there is anything else coming outside of my shape and how is my shape evolving. Because it's very hard to see how your shape is evolving when the hair is too wet. So I'm just leaving it to dry out to see how does it work. And now you can see the differences between the side. You can see softer, and then you can see more of an angle on the side where I still didn't clean that angle off. So I'm going back. How do I stand? Like this maybe. Taking from my central section towards the side. I can see where that angle is staying. And again, section, taking everything away, putting to the clipping so it's more easier for me to work. And then straight outside from the head. I know that it's on the temporal bone, and I'm going in and just cleaning that angle. Again, step 1, 2, and then 3 all the way up. So it's very important for me to know my steps and to know what I want to do and where do I want to follow. Because as I said in the beginning, if my body doesn't follow the shape, it's going to be very hard to achieve exactly what I want.
Velikodas is asking, what do you want to create in the end of that style? Probably strong bangs?
Strong bangs, softer front and shorter front, softer lines around the ear, and then with that really strong detail of a bob line in the back and strong graduation. So to kind of repeat for everybody that just tuned in, if it's somebody that's just tuned in, what I did was I started off in the back with slightly rounded section all the way on top of the occipital bone. I did one length bob, slightly triangular, everything one length, and then it was flat iron and cleaned off. And then on top, a small angle of graduation, following the head shape, and rounding that graduation towards the front. After that, I went with the temporal bone, took my 2 sections from both sides, took my point from the back and created a guiding line on top, which was square guiding line, and then just finished off everything 90 degrees from that point. Then I went to the top, took horizontal sections, following the head shape, which means I started where my point is from the back, and then moved slightly towards the front, which made my body go from there, down, and ended up there. And now I'm just connecting that angle because I don't want it to be too heavy, and I'm taking off and rounding out the angle on the top of the temporal bone. And now because the hair is getting dry, what I try to do, I comb it towards other positions. So I comb it to the front, to the back, to see what's happening, to see if I'm going to see something coming outside of my line. So in this way, when you leave the hair to be dry, naturally, you can actually kind of hear the hair speaking to you and telling you what's happening, how is this suiting me, and if this is okay where you're going with me.
So Erin Bro is asking, is there a sign up for your class in US the first week in October?
So Adam is already, I think, on the live. So unfortunately, the class has been sold out because it was only 5 days, and we work with smaller groups of students because we like to work more individually. But if you want to get any info on any of our classes in the States in the future, you can contact Adam Federico on the Facebook or Instagram, or Federico Advanced also on Facebook or Instagram. I think if Adam wants to say something else, where can people contact, he can put it in the comments. So to going last section, just cleaning it all out, and then I'm going to blow dry and see what else do I need to do. Of course, I need to clean the bangs or the fringe. So I'm really concentrating to save the fringe. I know in the States is bangs, but my sister lives in London and she speaks perfect English. So she always tells me, Ivana, it's not fringes, it's fringe. So I'm really trying to talk correctly at this point. So I'm going to blow dry everything now. I'm going to put just a little bit of water now so the product gets more inside the hair. And what I don't want to over blow dry the hair, and I definitely don't want to make it too straight, too kind of flat on the hair, because I created this rounded shape and I really want to keep it round. So I'm going to try and follow this kind of emotion that the hair is telling me or showing me, which goes slightly towards one side. So now when I did it, I really like this fringe longer, but I'm going to cut them short so we open up her face now. So I'm going to use Iron Co Prep Spray, which will give me nice moisture inside the hair. I don't like to use very strong products because I really like what I said, for the hair to show me where it needs to go. Very gently with the bag because it's so flat iron. So just a little bit of product. And I'm going to blow dry. Just a second. I'm going to take my paddle brush and try to move naturally with the texture or with the movement of the hair. So as we said, for all the information about our classes in the States, hope you guys can hear me over the blow dryer. For all the information about our classes in the States, feel free to contact Adam Federico. But then for all the information about classes in Croatia in our academy, feel free to contact me or Mario or Zgat on our also Instagram or Facebook page. So moving it to all the sides, one side and then another, giving the hair that kind of space to breathe, and also for the hair to show me where it needs to go. All around. you guys have any more questions, please feel free to ask. Actually, hope all the people that are watching are back in their salons, being busy, working, trying to forget all this weird stuff happening with COVID. And I'm going to just flat iron parts around the ear so I can make them more softer. So with flat ironing, the idea is not to push everything too flat so it sticks out. The idea is to follow that natural movement of the hair, but still make it slick and straight enough so we can finish off the shapes. So what we like to say to our students is you take the flat iron, you don't press too hard on it, it's hot enough to do the job by itself. And then just imagine a really small song, or a slow song that you like, and then follow it with your flat iron. All the way down. Trying to be as gentle as possible because I'm working with short hair on the mannequin. And then I already have parts that have been flat ironed before, so I don't want to get into them.
Mary Carpenter is saying hi.
Hi. So the idea is definitely to open up a face more. Now I have the length, which is enough to create any steel bangs or fringe that I will want to create. As I said, I'm going to go shorter because I really will want to open up the face. But then I really want everything else to be kind of softer and rounded. So hope you guys like everything so far. Hopefully you don't mind the kids. We have kids playing just outside of our door. And then just on the other side, the same. And I don't want to go to the roots. I'm just going with the ends. So make them nice and straight so I can finish them off. All the way. Even if this was a live person or a client and I would do something like this, I would do fringe or bangs always on the dry hair. Because with the bangs, especially when you do something shorter, you work so closely with the natural growth. And it's much easier to see what's happening once the hair is dry. And you can see if somewhere something is jumping out and you need to pay more attention to that part. Okay. So taking my scissors, sitting down, because it's much easier for me to sit down than to stand up while doing this. So I know I want to keep the length, but I also know I want to open up everything. So I'm going to start from the longest point on the side, but I always need to check where my natural growth is, because I do not want to go inside that natural growth. So from that point, with top of my scissors going in and out, so the hair doesn't run away from my scissors. All the way. Thinking about where her eyebrow is and trying to follow that shape of the eyebrow. So round it all the way. Only with the top of my scissors. You see? Going in and cleaning all that line. See? I can imagine I'm going to try and lift it up slightly more higher. If I take a look at her face and her eyebrows, I feel it's still closed, so I'm going to just round it slightly more. Again, with the points of the scissors. All the way. So I'm not worrying too much about the cleanness, because I'm going to still go back and clean it. And I'm going to go now from the other side. And then again, from the longest point. With the top of my scissors, following that roundness. From all the different positions. Going back, I have 2 points. Trying to round it. So it's the same as if I would draw it with the pencil. My hand moves around. If I'm drawing something that it's round, I cannot stand in the same position. I have to move all the time. All the way, rounding out and rounding my body around that. Connecting all the way to the other side. So now you can see that emotion that I was talking about before, because her natural kind of movement is more towards the one side. So I'm trying to follow that with the curveness of the line. All the way around. I am probably going to take a small trimmer and finish it off. So I get very strong and clean line. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I did everything with the scissors before. So just a quick look in the mirror. And I'm taking my small trimmer. And then I don't want to change anything, I just want to push everything inside. So it's just small parts of the hair and I'm just sliding on top of my line. And I do that even when I do short fringe on the live person, I would do the same with the small trimmer, just to make it as perfect and straight as possible. Sliding on top. And pushing everything inside. So just stop for a second and I move on towards my side. And then go section by section. And just small point cut. To make it even more softer. So the point with the point cut is not to change that line, but just to make it nice and soft. So the line that you did needs to stay at the position where you were cutting it. So once I finish off, it's softer, but it's still there. Holding it through, and then the last part, again, just softening that line off. Sitting down so I can finish off the side. Everything in the comb and in the white part of the comb, and I'll just soften it all the way. Using slicing, point cutting, just to make it all the way soft. It's not wrong to use, let's say, thinning scissors for something like this. I do sometimes use it when I'm trying to get that really, really soft kind of feel.
Would you use maybe a razor or something similar to a razor for that?
Me personally, I wouldn't, but that's only because I've never worked with a razor and I don't know how to use it. Adam tried to teach me at one point, but it didn't work. When we were in school, I don't know how it is in the States or anywhere else, but when we were in school, we needed to shave the balloons with the razor. And what I did, I put my hand and I put the razor straight into my thumb, and I cut it really badly. And this is the first and the last time I used the razor because I got really scared of it. So I never tried to use it again. But yeah, hopefully Adam will finish off his mission and learn, and I will learn how to use a razor one day. So now the other side, point cut. Again, only to soften everything up. Not touching the line. Everything nice and soft. Do you guys have any more questions before we finish? And again, on this side, the outline. Make this side slightly shorter than the other side. just again because of that emotion inside the hair.
Jim Coolidge is saying, this scared me at first. Now, not so much. Beautiful.
Thank you. It's something, I watched this interview with a creation designer. She does handbags and I think all type of bags actually. She's called Conture. And I watched this interview with her where she was explaining how she went outside of her comfort zone with a couple of materials and designs that she did. And it really made me think that always when I do something like this, I always go with something that I usually do on a class. And I wanted to try and do something that not necessarily I would do every time when I cut something with my students or on our demonstrations. Just taking myself outside of that comfort zone, I have to say. I called Mario today when I was prepping before work, the bag, and I looked at it and I think I was looking at it for an hour maybe, and I really wasn't satisfied. And I washed it again and then blow dried it again. Was thinking about maybe completely changing it, but decided to keep it. Just to be sure that I move myself outside of that comfort zone that I usually find myself in. I think that most of the really good things come out when you kind of move yourself away from that comfort zone. You guys agree?
We have a funny one. Alinda Kelly, I think. I would cry if someone cut my hair like that.
Well, don't do it then. Very simple.
What do you think, Ivana? I mean, we work with so many different shapes almost every day, and we can, do those kind of shapes on a daily basis on our clients. How much do you think that's important?
Well,
Or do we also have to wait for that special day, like a collection day, that we can show our creativity?
we are lucky, I feel, first, because we have all different range of clients. We have students and artists, musicians, then we have politicians, doctors, all kind of different people. And they all come to us because they like the uniqueness that we bring inside the haircut. Maybe not necessarily everybody would do exactly this, but I assure you, some of them would. And we do it. And it doesn't matter what they do. Because I hear sometimes people telling me, oh no, I'm a doctor, I cannot wear that style. Or I'm a politician, or I'm a manager, I cannot do it. But I know that you can because I have those clients, and Mario has those clients. It's not about what you wear on the head, it's how you wear it. And if it matches who you are and what you wear, there's no problem with it. If you don't like it, don't do it. Do something more simple, because if you don't like something very creative, something simple will look perfect on you, because you will wear it the best that you can. So it's not always to go very creative, but to follow the person that is inside your chair.
What does that mean if you think about how much hair cutters should be skilled to do different types or styles of haircuts, not only maybe 5 or 10 of them?
I feel that the same as we talk on our classes, when you go inside the geometrical haircutting and you learn the techniques and you learn those 7 basic shapes, and what hairdressers tend to think is when I learn that, I can work all the time and repeat the same shapes. But that's not possible. You have clients that have different textures, different shapes of their heads, different growths, different individualities. So you have to be able to take that technique, and when you know it, try to use it as your own, which it would mean you will put something special inside, which will be only yours. And it doesn't necessarily have to be only straight geometrical haircut. It can be anything that you put in that will kind of separate your cuts from all the other cuts. And this is, I think, for me, the idea of just being a hairdresser and all of us just being in this geometrical haircutting that we all love, but not following it blindly, completely, but to rather try to kind of create something of your own inside, and then you can use it on different varieties of shape and with different tools, because tools are only tools. If you use a razor, you use thin scissors, you use trimmer or a clipper. It doesn't matter if you know how to use the tool. If you don't know how to use the tool, then something will go wrong. But if you know how to use it, there is no problem. All the laws that we have inside the techniques and inside the geometrical haircut is there to be kind of broken or bended. They're not God's truth and cannot be bended at all times. No, it can. You just need to try.
Would you say technique is maybe also a tool?
Yes, definitely. Technique, there is no difference between technique, this or the scissors. What makes that is me, and you, and Mario, and everybody else. Everything else, it's only a tool. Don't be afraid of the tool.
Dennis Dituri is saying, I'm crying because it's great art, like Picasso.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I feel very honored to have Dennis say that. I've been following Dennis for years now, I would say. Years. So, finishing it, yeah?
So one more question from Bojan Lazarevic. Hi Zgat, why it is important to visualize the shape before the haircut? You kind of answered that already in the beginning,
I'll
but...
answer it again. So why it's important? Because if you visualize what you want to do, then you have point A. What you need to find is the other question is, where do I need to start to achieve what I visualized in my head? Then you have point B. And everything that you have, point A, point B, and you step towards it. Simple as that. That's why it's important. You don't have to visualize 100% of your haircut, but let's say 90% should be somewhere here. So while you're working, you're kind of following it through all the time. Not just here, but here as well. Don't forget about that emotion that you put inside the haircut, because you can always feel it. And now the product. Just pushing those layers to create just a little bit of movement on top. One. Separating that softness so we can see it. And now when I'm finishing off, I'm just thinking about how this will look on the photo once Mario takes the photo, because Mario is the master of all the photography that we do in Zgat.
Vedran Niško is saying, nicely explained, Ivana.
Thank you, Vedran. Hvala ti, Vedran. Going to the other side.
So one more. Shirley Malakassian, sorry for butchering your last name. I went to cosmetology school and did hair for 10 years. You really know what you're doing. People may not like the haircut, but you could give them what they want because you've got what it takes. Perfection.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So just playing with that small layers on top, so we create kind of emotion also on the top. And I'm not going to put any more product. I think it's fine. I don't like to put too much product. So just to begin, from the beginning, we did rounded section from the top of the ear, and then everything one length, slightly triangular. And then on top a small angle of graduation, taking everything straight out from the section. And then following it and rounding it out all the way to the front. So from vertical, pivoting, diagonal, all the way to the front, moving with the shape. After that, I blow dried the back and finished it off. And then I went to the front, took the point from the back, square towards the front, and then following it 90 degrees towards the front. And the same on the other side. And then on top, I took the point from my graduation in the back, from that point, following it with the small movements, following the head shape. So we had here, down, 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 leaving enough weight for the fringe to be very solid and heavy. And then after that, everything combed down, connected to my angle, and then I got a small angle just on top of the temporal bone, and then from the front to the back, slightly rounding it out, so it gets more softer and rounded on the sides. Blow dried it, and then just cleaned off the fringe with the top of my scissors, with the movement going in and out, so the hair doesn't run away from me. And then just making just small point cut and just finishing off everything very softly with the point cut. So guys, hope you like it. This is an okay position. Hope you like it.